I know we talk a lot about this on all of our channels, but I was on Twitter today and I thought that this gentleman, Kyle Alex Brett, gave some really interesting ideas on how to bring um, people to the cinema, how to keep theaters alive and not just shutting down and disappearing, because we do see a future like that. That we all don't want, but it could potentially happen tremendously since we did lose so many after the pandemic. So he says, if I owned a chain of movie theaters like AMC, I'd spend a lot of time trying to figure out how I could do live screenings of NBA, NFL games, and episodes of shows like Love Island with happy hour prices on drinks and snacks. The complaints that people don't go to the movie theaters and support great original movies is too much of a victim mindset. The first question should be, how do we get audiences to remember and feel that watching movies in a crowd is a fun behavior that they should do more often? We can start here, and there's a couple more quotes from him, but how do you guys think about what he's saying?
A lot of people hate the crowd these days, though. I don't want to defend. He's right in the fact of like, and some theaters do. There are some theaters that do have NBA, and I have seen some that have NFL games, depending on who you have and where you are. And he's not even wrong with the Love Island. If you can get something that a lot of people would be willing to sign up for in a event type of situation, then that could work fairly well. But there would need to be partnership with whomever is making the shows. Totally understand that. But we live in a time now where you get let's just you spend $2,000. For $2,000, you in your apartment or your house can have a nice TV, surround system, and even a good like seating arrangements and everything like that. People don't not everybody likes going to the movie theater anymore. And I think because of how good technology has gotten and because of how good streaming has gotten and the fact that people are now throwing events at their own houses rather than that does play a part. I think that does matter. There are people who do not want to go, regardless of the fact of, and it's the same thing with concerts, and it's the same thing with sports games. It's just a lot of the audience is done. And so it's less about, oh, how do we get audience to remember, and more about what you can do to have audiences have that replication of what they feel at home at the theater. That would just be me, though.
Yeah, I actually like that he's suggesting that they change their mindset about it. I almost feel like the technology is winning the battle regardless, though. Maybe it got accelerated. Maybe movies have struggled, but I think it was over anyway. I think that the party was over. Like in terms of the competition of, if I stay at home, I control the environment, I control the food, I don't have to worry about other people doing crazy things or just being like weird. Like that's a lot of my experiences.
Weird, loud, all sorts of things.
Just like unaware that you're around other people maybe is like the thing I'm looking for. Like just or either you don't care that you're around other people or you're unaware somehow, even though you're in public. And I think people miss the Marvel event, like going to those types of movies that were exciting with a group of people. But I don't think I ever have thought about other movies saying, I wish there was a bigger crowd. You know, I like the crowd for that. I like feeling and being a part of something for sure. But technology was always going to win. Yeah. Like streaming at home was always going to be inevitable.
And even for the movies, like even Sinners, when we went to Sinners, there were people who were like audibly like, eesh, right? Especially some of the older people who went, but it wasn't a distraction to the movie. That actually aided in the movie because you got to see different perspectives. So when you talk about like that kind of crowd stuff, you actually like it. There's something about it, like the scene when right before they are about to fight everybody, like all the vampires, and this one guy just yells out like, nope, like it was just one of those things like you don't want, and people laugh. But that's part of it. Like you're like, eesh, right? Like somebody's just audibly put it out. But there's a difference between that and people clapping and cheering at a specific thing and people literally having their phone up with their lights on or trying to text or doing some, which people do. And it can throw you off completely, especially if you spend $25, $35, $45, $55. What if that's your date night? What if that's your time to take your family out and everything like that? If you have a family of 4, you're looking at $80, like minimum, because those kids are gonna want snack. And so I see everything he's saying. I totally see it, but I just think that we can't act like people haven't created great environments at their own spaces.
Okay, so then he continues on, and all valid points from both of you. He says things to kind of have to make this happen. Movie studios would have to be okay with AMC or Regal, whoever, pulling screens to use for other things. TV networks would have to be okay with profit splits. TV advertisers would have to be okay with the format. And he says would take a genius executive to pull this off. I would also try hard to figure out how to replace television commercials with movie trailers. Am I saying that I would play trailer of Bring Her Back to a rowdy and drunk crowd of people who came to see the latest Love Island episode? Yes, I'm saying that. And I guess we can just go to his final two statements, and then we can fully discuss once seeing the big picture here. The movie should not be a place where you go to support cinema. That's for nerds like me, he says. For everyone else, the movie should be a place where you can sit down and have a ton of fun for an affordable price. And then I point across the hall to the Phoenicians game. If I ran a movie distributor and a movie theater did this, I'd try to sponsor a show. For example, if AMC was screening the NBA Finals and I was Apple or Warner's, I would sponsor it and run trailers and press content for F1 and Superman during the commercial breaks. So that's the full vision of what this guy's saying.
It's a utopia that can't exist, unfortunately, because I like everything he's saying. It's not realistic. And it's not realistic because of how our society is structured. Like, would it be cool to get commercial? And to be fair, NBA does they do sponsorships with movies all the time, and they'll have like commercials of the movie playing that's kind of geared with the players. But could you run a trailer? Yeah, you could. Are you going to beat the pharmaceutical ad that's going to pay way more? Now you're asking people to not be greedy. And when you're asking people not to be greedy, that gets kind of tough in a capitalistic society such as ours. So that's not really going to work. Then you have the place you could sit down and have a ton of fun for an affordable price. Again, absolutely agree. But an affordable price means that the profit margins for the movie theater are lower. So you have these like, and you know what's more affordable than going out? Staying in. I mean, how many times have we talked about like, it would be cheaper. I'll give you a prime example right now. A kid's movie comes out and say my kid wants to go and he wants to invite 5 of his friends. So that's a ticket for him, me, and 5 other people. And then their parents are buying in and everything like that, right? Or they can all come to my house and sit down and I could rent that movie for $30. And we can get snacks for cheap and we can pause it. People need to go to bed. We could do all of that stuff. That's a better overall experience, probably not just for me, but also for them. So it's like, it's a tough one. I get it. But we're asking people not to be greedy and we're asking people to come out of the comfort they already have.
You're right.
Yeah. I think the movie theater chains need to get smaller, and they're going to get smaller in one of 2 ways. Either they're going to condense and cut cost and make really great niche theaters with incredible seating, incredible sound, incredible visuals, clean, well-staffed and managed, things like that are high end, that does cost more. Or over time, they're going to shrink because they're going to get pressure. The debt at AMC is piling up anyway. I mean, if the whole 2020 AMC meme stock thing didn't happen, AMC would barely be operational, if not closed right now. So like, that's where I'm like, if they didn't sell stock to all the meme stock people, it might already be done. Like the party might be over anyway. I just think it's going to keep dwindling. I would love this, by the way. If all this worked and like this actually was pulled off, I would love it. But I just don't see it happening.
That's the thing. It's like, you like it. Like everything he says, I don't disagree with anything. It's just not possible. Right. And like, we know why. At least to some degree, we have a good reason why. And it's
a billionaire would have to take a loss. They would have to say, I own the theater chains and I'm okay with taking a loss.
I do think, you just said, John, that there are theaters that that do show NBA and football and things like that. I do kind of think if they did some of the finales for the reality shows, I think that would work really well. We saw how when Netflix tried to do the Love is Blind one and it didn't work out, and there were so many people upset. And also, Alan Cumming, who's the host of Traders, like he does a whole thing at his bar that he owns in Lower Manhattan, and like it's a big thing. And I think that you could kind of, these are things that not everyone, but a lot of people are watching these things, want to see the finales together in like a party environment. So like that could work as well. Maybe not something for like the series finale of 6 or whatever, you know what I mean, or Severance, but like the reality fun stuff where you don't have to pay attention the whole time might actually work too.
I think this could be done, but in a different way. And I think so. Even if we took it and looked at it from a standpoint of, okay, so what can be done to make it better? I think you need to look at the live events. And it doesn't mean you have to copy them, but like look at what Broadway's doing. Look at what the sports games, NFL, NBA, even go overseas and look at everything. I mean, soccer overseas posing these crazy but like look at all of those. Look at what UFC is doing. Look at what WWE is doing. And because those places are selling out time after time after time, and even when they don't sell out, they still are. I mean, the gates on some of these are incredible. And then see what you can pluck to add to the movie going experience. I think that needs to. And to be fair, they did do that, right? Like I remember a time where they would have never served alcohol at a movie theater, right? And so now they do, and like you can have dinner at some theaters and stuff like that. But it needs to go a little bit more beyond, because people in an era of I can just wait for streaming, people are going to want to conserve that dollar. So you need to really make it worth it, especially when the dollar is losing value at every chance and turn.
100%. Yeah. I got very little hope for them. I hate to say that, but I just don't see a way out.
And unfortunately, you can't do the specialty item being something that you're going to see before or after the movie, because that's going to be leaked within 5 seconds. So there's no, you're right, John. Things have to be outside of the box and making it more of an event. Live events, concert, sports, and theater are still doing okay, and theaters have to come up with something that can at least meet halfway a little bit, like, to get people there. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. How would you like to see theaters saved? Is there any hope? Are we all delusional? Thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.